finds Drew Holiday. Nice little one-handed pass for the tough layup.
Nick, this is a really good game. Alonzo didn't play much in the second half. The Pelicans look pretty good. You can see how Zion would fit in with that quick pace that they like to play.
Pelicans looked pretty good. If you didn't watch the game, a little misleading. You see they lost by 8. Happened in overtime. Pelicans had a chance to win in the last minute.
Clippers-Lakers missed Clippers layup. Anthony Davis finds LeBron for the big slam.
LeBron's only great moments in this game were in transition on both sides of the ball. This on offense, he had a few really nice transition plays on defense, taking a charge, getting a block. In the half court, he was not very good.
Hey, yeah, Nick, LeBron fans, if LeBron was going to play some defense, you guys, his offense is going to suffer. He was playing some defense last night.
A lot of defense last night.
Clippers turn. Kawhi cutting back door, delivers the rim-rattling left-handed dunk.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see number 2 back in the... He's still, of all the superstars we have...
Still the most underrated.
Absolutely. Yeah. Still people don't give him no respect.
No respect on his name, man.
All right, vintage King James on this one. Watch how he perfectly times the chase down block on Landry Shamet.
And what the highlight doesn't show is about 2 seconds later, takes a charge on the same play. Stepping in the middle of the lane. Listen, he is... This, even you won't disagree with me on C. He's the GOAT of chase down blocks. Agreed?
Well, I mean, how many people are in that category?
I don't know, but he's number 1.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade is the greatest non-center shot block.
Agreed.
Best guard we've ever, but yeah, I mean.
Chase down blocks.
No problem. I get you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
I'm trying to stack these championships with MJ. You're trying to stack up chase down.
All right,
chase down blocks.
To the NFL now to match pictures with words. The San Francisco 49ers are off to an impressive 6-0 start, with a defense giving up under 11 points per game and a quarterback quietly playing some good football. Their weakness, though, has been at wide receiver. That until yesterday, when the Niners sent a 3rd and a 4th round pick to Denver for Pro Bowl wideout Emmanuel Sanders and a 5th rounder. Jimmy G needed a target. It appears he now has one. So, Chris Carter, what'd you make of this trade for the 49ers?
The 49ers had to make a trade. They've been looking at wide receivers the last couple years, haven't pulled the trigger on any of those. We thought about a year ago that they would look into OBJ, bringing him to San Francisco with this young team, because we knew they had potential defensively. Offensively, Jimmy Garoppolo, we didn't know enough about him, but they still didn't have a marquee receiver. Now, for them, the reason how they've been able to survive is by a dominant running game and George Kittle's. George Kittle is the 2nd best tight end that we have in pro football, and he's probably one of the most underrated guys that we have. Coming out of Iowa, only a 5th round pick in 2017, he has been sensational. Has unbelievable hands, has unbelievable speed. But everyone else that they have at wide receiver, you can go down the list from Debo Samuel.
Debo Samuel, you got it.
From South Carolina. Samuel is a project from South Carolina. He was a 2nd round pick. Pettis is a project who looked good last year, ended up being hurt a couple years ago, hadn't been able to get back to full speed. And if you look at Marquise Goodwin, he was running in the Olympics. I mean, he's got blazing speed. All these guys are a little undersized. All these guys have speed and quickness. They don't have an NFL receiver, a professional route runner, and that's what Emmanuel Sanders is. If you look at offensively what they do, they run the ball, they force the defense into the middle of the field. Emmanuel Sanders is going to get more one-on-one coverage, free access off the line of scrimmage to be able to work, especially because he's a flanker. He plays to the same side of the offense as the tight end. Him and George Kittle, they should get real explosive real quick.
Explain that to the audience, if you would, see, because I think people hear you say how their wide receiver room is not very good, and then Sanders gets there and they think, well, he's going to get all the attention of the defense. Why is he going to get...
Because how they play football. They're going to make everyone be in the middle of the field. You have to play with 7 or 8 in the box. You can only play a couple coverages. You
got to respect the run.
You can play 3. You can play cover 1. You can play 0. Emmanuel Sanders has been double covered. He's been a lot of cover 2. He's played in prolific offenses there in Denver, so he is a great match. Now, he's not a wide receiver without an ego, but he's at the stage of his career, all he wants to do is win. He's made a lot of money, so he's a good fit with this young receiving group in that locker room, because all the other receivers, and until Emmanuel Sanders came there, their best receiver is Jalen Hurd. He was a running back from Tennessee that they converted to wide receiver, and he's scheduled to come off injured reserve in a couple weeks. So big move by John Lynch, getting a wide receiver that's not overpriced, still has a couple years left, and will be very, very good in their locker room with a very, very young football team.
So I want to talk about Emmanuel Sanders first and then the Niners. With Sanders, he's 32 years old, and you wonder if the statistical decline the last few years is a product of a player, 10 years into the league who's all of a sudden getting close to the end, or is a product of the absolutely abysmal quarterback play that we've seen in Denver up to and including the final year of Peyton Manning, when it was Peyton Manning and Brock Osweiler, because the last year Emmanuel had really good quarterback play. He was a Pro Bowl caliber player. Now, that also was age-wise when he should be in the prime years of his career. So that is yet to be seen. For the Niners, Richard Sherman talking about don't jump on the bandwagon. The thing that has prevented me from jumping on the undefeated Niners bandwagon is their lack of potency in the passing game. Every other aspect of their team, to me, is A- or above. Even with injuries on their offensive line, they have a dominant offensive line. They were up until recently averaging, they went through a stretch where they're averaging 200 yards rushing per game over a month of football. We know how good that defense is, and I think Kyle Shanahan is a hell of a play caller and a really good coach. Problem is, Jimmy G hasn't been very good, and the passing game hasn't been very good. How much of Jimmy G's lack of effectiveness has been all he has is the tight end to throw to? Now we'll get a little bit more of this information. Much like with the Patriots adding Mohamed Sanu, I don't feel either one of these teams added. It's not Antonio Brown coming over. It's not an all-pro caliber guy, but he does become the most established and I would argue most talented receiver in that room. It is the one position of need for the Niners, and they addressed it the best they realistically could have.
But we know that with Mohamed Sanu matching up with Tom Brady, that's immediately going to have an impact. He needed a receiver. He got one.
Yep.
We don't know that much about Jimmy Garoppolo because, as Nick said, we haven't seen – he didn't need to be that good because of how good their defense has played, and the team is quietly off to a great start. How much of an impact will Sanders have immediately with Jimmy Garoppolo for them to get on the same page the way he was with Kittle all season?
Well, it becomes difficult. The one thing I would just slow down some of the optimism for both these teams. In New England, Josh McDaniel, Tom Brady, they have one of the most sophisticated offenses in the league. It's going to take some time. We talked about yesterday how, yes, both of these guys, they're professionals. Both of them are great locker room guys. Both of them play a variety of positions. Kyle Shanahan, I would say, runs the most complicated offense. So how long is it going to take them at midseason? And I don't know, is there some Kyle Shanahan in Emmanuel Sanders as far as him understanding what this offense is that gets him up to speed a little bit quicker? So for me, this is not the NBA.
Right.
This is still the NFL.
Okay.
No OTAs, no training camp. First time that they've seen these offenses, it might take some time for them to get up to speed. But any quarterback, being young or old, wants an accomplished wide receiver that knows his depths, knows the timing, and can get open. And Emmanuel Sanders, I believe that his decrease in stats is more based on the personnel he was playing with, the teams he was playing with, the variety of coordinators he went through, let alone head coaches and quarterbacks. So for me, in the situation he's been in, I don't see how he could have had great numbers.
And one thing John Lynch knows is another thing the Niners have in common with the Patriots is a backloaded schedule, especially as far as the defenses they're going to be facing. From here, this point forward, they play Carolina, they play Seattle twice, they play Green Bay, they play Baltimore, they play New Orleans, they play the Rams, who just acquired Jalen Ramsey, obviously. They are going to need to do more offensively than just run the football if they are going to stay in the pole position for a bye in the NFC, where I know they have the best record in the NFC. I don't think many people right now consider them the best team in the NFC. I think New Orleans and or Green Bay would be, in most people's opinion, ahead of them because of their potency in the passing game. We'll see how much he can help this.
Do you agree? Did they quickly become the best team in the NFC yesterday?
No, absolutely. Aaron Rodgers and what they got going on in Green Bay.
They're a strong third.
All right.
They're a strong third.
Strive for
Chris will make a list. We'll get a list for him.
Take a break. Coming off, did the Patriots' latest trade make them front runners to land their 7th Lombardi trophy? We touched on it. We'll talk about it now.